Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Redefining Engagement in the Age of COVID-19. My name is Crystal Robinson, and I am the Marketing Manager here at LogMeIn for Bold360, and I'll be your moderator today. I want to cover a few housekeeping items before we get started. First up, you'll notice that the GoToWebinar control panel will appear on the right side of your main screen. We have everyone muted by default to help minimize background noise, but that doesn't mean we do not want to hear from you. Your insight is an important piece of this webinar. If you have questions, please submit them in the questions section of your control panel. I'll be monitoring the queue throughout the webinar and will try to answer as many as I can as we go along. If there are any questions that we don't get to, we will follow up directly with you afterwards. Lastly, this webinar will be recorded. If you feel someone else on your team would benefit from today's topic, or if you must hop off early because of little ones, we have you covered. We will be sending out an email in a few days with a link to the recording. With that said, we really appreciate you choosing to spend some of your time with us. We're excited to discuss CX. I want to start out by introducing you to our speakers. Joining me today is Ryan Lester and Courtney Chalnick. Ryan is the Senior Director of Customer Experience Technologies at LogMeIn. He and his team own the strategic development and implementation for the go-to-market plan for AI, chatbot, and virtual assistant products. He is passionate about making new technology easy and helping any size company unlock the potential of AI and bots. Prior to his current role, Ryan held various sales, marketing, and product positions at Intel Corporation, Cisco Systems, and Eaton Corporation. Courtney is a customer success manager for Bold360, LogMeIn's digital engagement solution that allows companies to engage smarter with customers and employees through live chat and artificial intelligence. Courtney supports over 50 customers across the Bold portfolio to ensure customers are maximizing their investment through training and optimization. Before LogMeIn, Courtney held customer advisory roles at Logic Manager, an enterprise risk management software and company. With that said, Ryan, it's all on you.
Great. Well, welcome everybody. We wanted to just show, Courtney and I want to jump on video quickly just so you could see our faces. Like many of you probably out there, we're both doing this from the home office. And we're excited to spend the next around hour with you really talking about the challenges we're all seeing around customer experience, customer engagement, enabling remote workforces, and we're excited to spend the time with you. As LaCrystal mentioned, please feel free to submit questions. We're really doing this to help all of you out there. And once again, this will be recorded so you can share it after the fact. We're going to turn off our video just so we're not distracting, but it's great to meet all of you out there. I wanted to start out with a quick disclaimer. As many of you, your work environment's changing. You may have had changes on your teams, and many of us are working in a very different way than we were just a matter of a few weeks ago. My quick disclaimer is I have 2 new interns. Those interns are hard workers. They're very dedicated, but they tend to focus on what's important to them and not always what's important to me. So just a quick heads up that I've locked my office door. I'll do my best to keep my 2 interns at bay, but they tend to appear and be very passionate about their current work stream. So just a quick disclaimer that you may hear a little background noise and that maybe my interns really excited about their next project. So just a quick disclaimer to start, and I'm sure many of you are facing similar challenges as you're working from home. The other thing I wanted to quickly touch base on is that today we're going to be spending a lot of our time on the left-hand side of this screen in the world of digital engagement. But at LogMeIn, where I work and Courtney work and LaCrystal works, we actually are focused on a broader world of redefining engagement. And that can mean a lot of different things. That can mean the world of digital engagement, but it can also mean things like visual engagement. So focusing on how do you help get your agents closer to your customers using things like video. And we have a lot of solutions in that space as well. And also in the world of technical remote support that might be relevant to your L1 or L2 support teams that are focused on connecting to devices, or your internal IT help desk teams or service desk teams. So just know that there's a lot more that we're working on here at LogMeIn. Today we're focusing on the left-hand side, but we have a number of other webinars and information about how you can redefine engagement, enable a work from home workforce, and really engage your employees and customers in better ways. So know that we have additional resources beyond what we're going to cover today, which is focused on digital engagement. The other thing I wanted to spend some time on level setting for all of you out there that have joined is what we're going to cover today. So what will you learn? there's three big things you're going to take away from our time together today that Courtney and I are going to spend time on. The first is, how do you build a rapid response plan? We're all kind of drowning in policy changes and inbound requests from customers, from employees. There's just a lot to manage, and it can all feel like a firefight. And we want to help you. First is, how do you build a quick plan to help address those challenges? The second is, how do you drive some new insights powered by AI from this initial response plan? So what can you learn from AI or AI-powered technology to help better service your customers and your employees going forward? So it's not just about kind of plugging that hole in the dam, but also making things better going forward. And then finally, at the end of this session, we're going to talk about 5 simple steps you can do to drive a broader digital transformation. For many companies, this work from home world, changing in the way they're engaging with their customers, is really kind of turning everything upside down from a customer engagement and contact center perspective. Many of the old ways that you've serviced your customers or engaged with your customers may no longer be working. And we want to give you 5 simple steps that you can use to really accelerate your digital transformation. And we'll cover that at the end. So once again, the 3 things we're going to cover is this rapid response plan, some AI-driven insights that you can gain from that plan, and then where you can go beyond this initial step. So the first thing we want to talk about is really what's the current challenge we're seeing, and obviously it's a big and broad challenge. You know, COVID-19 has impacted the entire planet. It's really changed the way we've worked. Many of us are working from home. Many cities across the globe are in a state of emergency where there's limited ability for people to go outside their homes. And we're all scrambling to keep up with this change, both in enabling our workforces and our customers to engage with us remotely, but also as that changes, those policies evolve over time, how we keep up with those changes, keeping our customers and our employees informed. And in many of the conversations we've been having, we're getting lots of questions for customers about, is your store open? What are its hours? What are your latest policies? How do I cancel something, update something? How do I get in touch with someone? And we're seeing, in some cases, ridiculously long hold times because it's hard to manage this massive inbound volume. But on the opposite side, we're also seeing a world where contact centers can't be staffed or have to be staffed in a limited fashion, with flexible or changes in hours and number of employees in those contact centers. So we have a number of challenges around keeping our customers well informed on what's going on with our business and how they can continue to be a customer or continue to engage. But we also have challenges around engaging our employees. So we have employees now that are working from home, working in different ways, might be using different tools. And what was simple in the past of walking up to an IT help desk now has to be managed in a remote environment. So your IT organizations are really struggling and scrambling to support all these employees and the new ways they work. And so what we're really focused on here at LogMeIn is helping you address these 2 key stakeholders, your customers and your employees, to answer those questions that they need to get the outcomes they desire, whether that's to buy a product from you, to understand a policy, to understand how they can still use your stores or still engage with an actual employee, or for your employees to be productive and effective and efficient and feel empowered, that they can go focus on their job versus focusing on standing up their laptop or understanding how to do their job. So that's where we want to spend our time today. And we see this as a common narrative across articles in the press, across our customer base, and across people that are engaging with us around how do you keep these 2 important stakeholders engaged and informed in this new working world. And and it doesn't seem as though it's going to change anytime soon. Many things we've been talking about is, does this become somewhat of the new normal, at least for the next few months, of empowering your workforce to work remotely and also engaging your employee or customers in new ways. I think what's also important about this is, even if, let's say, things go really well and things go back to a bit of normal from social distancing and people being able to leave their homes and potentially even be able to come into the office, that will be another transition that you will have to manage. So both for your customers, of when will your stores be reopening, when will your policies be changing, and for your employees, when should I come back to work? Am I only supposed to come in on odd number days versus even number days? So there's a lot of information that rapidly needs to be disseminated to keep everyone informed and up to date.
Ryan, if I can just jump in there, a lot of my role in my day-to-day is speaking with customers and getting an understanding of how things are going for them and their employees, as well as, many of them are helping customers on the front lines, and just seeing a lot of trends and consistencies across the board in terms of employees spending a lot of their day waiting on and talking to their IT team. Again, a lot of these customers are on the front lines, whether they're agents or supervising agents, and those agents are really working a lot of long hours, a lot more people on board during the day to handle those customer queries. And not only are those agents working a lot, but they're getting really frustrated because over and over again, I've heard that they're getting asked those same questions. And oftentimes those questions are written somewhere on their site. There's answers there, but they're still getting through to these agents because those customers aren't finding their answers. So those are just some of the trends that I've seen, talking to my customers about, this current situation.
That's great, Courtney. And I think that probably resonates with many of the folks that are out there of, we're trying to keep everybody informed. We're trying to update our websites and, keep all information consistent and immediately available. But that is a challenge because our websites are complicated and our policies are complicated and things are continuously evolving, both from a federal government rules and regulations perspective, but also from the way we manage our own business. So thanks for sharing that. And so really what our goal, really the goal here is about preparing for that unknown. So how do we start to look at the world of digital engagement as a way to help address some of these challenges so that we're not as reliant on phone-based interaction or email or things that may even be more challenging to keep updated and informed. So as we have employees that are in now remote locations, they don't have a manager sitting next to them, they don't have a peer sitting next to them, it can become harder and harder for them to know what's the right answer, how do I access it, and how do I be consistent. The other challenge is that many of our existing channels don't allow us to be as agile. So as consumers may be shifting their preferences to use more channels like messaging or maybe SMS text, digital allows us to be more uniform in those experiences and more quickly adapt to the way our consumers want to engage or the way our employees want to engage. So they might have a preference now to use Slack or Microsoft Teams to get answers, where in the past maybe they had more of a preference to doing a phone call or walking up to a help desk. So digital gives us the ability to get the right information in the right channel, but also flex and test those channels over time. And we'll talk about that a bit more at the end of the presentation. But this rapid response plan is about what's your first step that can help to give you some breathing room. And as Courtney mentioned, relieve some of that repetitive, mundane work that many of our contact centers are struggling with today. So really our goal today is really about redefining how you think about digital. Many of you may have tested digital or are trying digital, but we want to help reset of what's an easy first step you can do that starts to get you into this world of digital engagement in a more robust way. And really the benefits, as we kind of started to touch on here, is that it's timely. So as you start to invest in digital channels, that information is globally updated. So when you make one change, every channel gets that information and it's readily and available for your customers and your employees. It provides you flexibility and options. So once again, if you start to invest, you can start to use that information across multiple digital channels where your customers and employees want to engage. And it easily scales. So one nice thing that we'll talk about with this self-service FAQ widget is that whether it's 100, 1,000, or 1 million customers that come to your site or employees that want to engage, it can service all of them at scale. So you don't have the same limitations you'd see in staffing call centers where you have to have humans answering the phone, or in the work it requires to go build out maybe a new IVR flow or a new voice AI assistant. Much of this work requires a much lighter lift than some of those heavier technologies that you'd be typically using for high-end call center automation. So let's start to dig into the actual solution because I'm sure you're interested in learning more. So really what we're going to spend our time on today is talking about the world of self-service. Now this isn't necessarily a new space. Many of you may have support center pages, you may have FAQ pages, you may have a variety of ways that you're trying to enable self-service to your customers. So certainly self-service is nothing new. And what's really important here is that it's more about getting the right information in front of your customers and employees in an easy way. So, you may be laughing and say, Ryan, the 90s called and they want their FAQ page back. When in reality, there's a lot you can do with self-service and FAQ that can really power your customer experience and also make your employees much more productive and effective. And that's what we're gonna have Courtney dig into, talking through what we're doing with this rapid response FAQ widget. So Courtney, why don't you start talking us through a bit of why this is different, what's interesting about it, and how it can help companies who are struggling with some of these challenges around scaling and providing consistent customer and employee information.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ryan. So, what we're talking about today is what we call our rapid response FAQ web widget. And essentially what that is it'll be a floating button on your page. In this image here, you can see in the bottom right corner, that's going to open up and enable your customers or employees to get answers to their questions 24/7. This is something that can be deployed, on your main site, but what we're seeing with most of our customers that have moved forward with this and you are using it as a customer-facing tool is that they're putting it on all of their subpages within their site. So for example, here, we could be on our car rental page and someone can realize that they have a question. They can open that widget on any page that they're accessing. They're not going to have to toggle back or go back and try and find that single FAQ page. So it's really something that anyone can use throughout their journey. This is also something that can be used internally. So if you want to be helping your employees, you can put this on your intranet site. And again, maybe that's on one part of your intranet site, or maybe that's throughout all of your kind of sub pages, so that no matter where employees are looking, they're able to get answers to their questions. So I think 3 things to highlight, and we're going to go into greater detail on all of them, is that it's really going to be easy to create and implement. It's going to be easy for your customers to access and interact. Same thing if you're using it internally, it's going to be really easy for your employees to use. And it's going to be easy for the business to update and maintain, whether that's your customer service team, or again, if you're using it to help your employees, maybe your IT or HR teams.
And one quick comment, Courtney, that we actually implemented this on our own COVID-19 internal support page at LogMeIn. So we have a page dedicated to questions for our internal employees around how we're managing the impact of COVID-19. And we've seen really great response from that as well. So to Courtney's point, you can use it for both customer-facing applications, but also internal employee-facing applications.
Awesome, thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
So next up, if we start to talk a little bit about that implementation process, if this is something you all are interested in pursuing, want to just walk you through what it would look like. We've talked about it being easy, but I don't just want you to take our word for that. I want to kind of walk you through what that process would look like. So I've actually gone through this with a number of customers. I've seen it done by one person at the company where they've kind of completed the process start to finish. Other companies have had a little bit more resources available, and they've had a 3-person team with some others supporting maybe on the content side or the web side. So really up to you all what your resources and bandwidth looks like for how many people you need, but you certainly don't need an army. All you really need is one person to put some time into this. What the process will look like is that you'll be added as a user to our software. And then upon logging in, you're going to have access to our support center, which will contain line-by-line instructions with screens to guide you through the process. So these are kind of what the steps will look like. Is first, you'll be able to add users if you have others assisting you in the process. Then we'll walk you through how you can build out your content and what our best practice recommendations are for how to format those questions, what you have in terms of resources for the answers, what kind of dynamic content you can use, and you'll fill out a template, send that to us, and we'll get that uploaded to the system for you within that same business day. The third step will be walking you through how to create the widget, and you'll be able to customize it with your company colors and styling, where you want it to go on the page so that it really fits in with all of your branding and your existing site. And you'll be able to generate the code for your web developers to deploy on your site. So that's the only additional you may need is if you need some help, actually taking that code and deploying it on your site. The last thing that we'll provide resources on is really how to update the content in the widget post-launch. and we'll get into greater detail on those in a few moments here. Lastly, just want to touch on, the customers we've seen do this have decided to implement, and they've been able to get this on their page in about 24 to 48 hours. What I'd say about those that chose, and we're around that 48-hour mark, is those customers wanted to do a little bit more testing than some of the customers that launched it one day later. But really easy to implement. It's not a huge process. Doesn't need a ton of resources or team members, and really easy to get that up and running very quickly. So we talked a little bit about, go ahead, Ryan, if there was something you wanted to add there.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, yes, I mean, it's great. I think what the biggest thing that people have given us feedback on is the time to implement, is that it's been very quick and easy for them. And then when you see kind of what happens once it's on your site, people have been very excited about kind of the value they're seeing based on how quickly they can stand it up.
Definitely. So we've talked a little bit about, what the widget is and how to implement it. And next, I just want to speak to what it looks like and how your customers or employees will interact with it in order to find answers to their questions or their challenges. So as you can kind of see here, that button that was in the bottom will open up to this widget. And you'll notice that there's going to be some popular questions listed here. So in this case, we have about 5, but you can customize how many questions you want to appear, and you can choose whether you want that to actually show up as those questions that are most popular or most frequently asked. You can actually decide which questions you want to show up there. And that's something that you can change as well over time. If there's a policy that's changing or something that's really timely, you can go in and make that kind of one of those top questions. Additionally, customers can type their question in that search bar up at the top to find an answer to what they're looking for. And what I really want to outline here is that we're not a keyword search. We have our own algorithm for natural language processing, or NLP, that recognizes the user's intent. So for example, here we has a cancellation policy changed, and the system's going to recognize that intent even if someone words it differently, such as, is the cancellation policy different, or can I still cancel my trip? And that's something that you'll be working on along the way, but something also the system's going to start recognizing that as more inputs and intents are placed into the widget here. And then I think one of the biggest things that companies are really struggling right now is making sure that their customers and their employees have the most up-to-date information and answers to their questions. So as we all know, the news is constantly changing, policies are changing, there's always kind of new information coming out. And what I've seen from some of my customers, as well as just as a consumer online, is that a lot of sites will have a coronavirus or FAQ page, and they'll either update that page by putting new dates at the top and any updates, or they'll actually be going through that page and updating their questions. So they're actually making changes to their web page, which is pretty time-consuming or resource-consuming there. And in this case with this widget, there's no need to update the website code once you've deployed it. So once you've built it out, your team will deploy it on the page. And that's really all you're going to need from a web development perspective. From there, any changes that you want to make to the content or anything like that will all be done within our AI console, which is something that someone can handle that's not super technical or anything of that nature. Additionally, go ahead, Ryan.
The one thing I want to touch on that's I think important there is it's kind of the world of, if you can rewind a bit, back in the days when there was actually a competition between Yahoo and Google on the world of search. Is that one thing that's nice about this widget is that it's really simplifying things, and that you really just have a search field and then a few popular things or highlight items that you want to be pushing or that you see as the most frequently used. But you've really dramatically simplified the user experience, much like when you go to Google's page, it's just a search box. Whereas in many traditional FAQ pages, which kind of rewind to the world of Yahoo, it was a lot of content on the page. And often that content can distract the user and frustrate them, because they're spending more time searching through things. So trying to, as we like to say, do their own NLP. They're doing a lot of the work to try to find the answer. Versus in this world, it's a really simple search box. And that search box can also just appear at the bottom of the screen where it just says type your question here, instead of being an icon. So the goal here is to really simplify the experience to the user. So once again, it makes it easier for them to find the answer they need and get back to what they want to be doing. So I think that's an important distinction versus what probably a lot of you are spending time on around, as Courtney mentioned, COVID-19 specific pages, where you're spending a lot of time trying to orchestrate and curate and update that information, but it puts a lot of onus on the user to try to search it and find it.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Ryan. Ryan, anything else you want to add here before we talk a little bit more about the knowledge library and voices dashboard?
No, thanks for asking. I actually just moved us forward, so thanks for asking.
Great. So we talked about, no need to redeploy the code or anything like that. So really easy to make changes. But what I would say in terms of managing the content, the biggest benefit of the FAQ web widget is that you're going to receive insights about what customers are asking and how they feel about answers. So you'll know what needs to be updated. So instead of searching the latest information or company policy changes, there's a few tools that you'll have at your disposal to easily understand what needs to be updated. So as you can see in this picture, it's showing what we call our voices dashboard. And what this will do is show all of the intents that are coming through. And it's going to show you kind of the size of what we call the tiles here based on how many times this is being asked. So the larger tiles are going to be questions that are asked most frequently. And you'll also see a color on there, which is going to indicate, whether answers are being provided and what that feedback looks like. So in this case, we have a couple of red tiles, and what those are going to indicate is either there's no answer to that question, or perhaps there's a lot of negative feedback that's being given to the answer that you have built out for that question. So here, when we have I want to cancel, this voice has no answer. So this would allow us to go in, create an answer or a response to this question, and you can do it directly from the voices dashboard. It also just kind of gives you a good idea. This is what you'll see when you log in. So it gives you a high level understanding of what customers are thinking and what they're looking for. Additionally, we also have a feature called the Search Optimizer, which is super helpful for anyone that's managing the content moving forward. And this will actually group anything that's unanswered, anything that receives negative feedback, so you can go in line by line and see which intents are coming through. And you can decide to create a new article, or perhaps you actually have an article with that type of answer, but maybe this is a different way of phrasing it, or this is a way that a customer is wording it that's different than the question that you all had outlined. So you can actually go in the Search Optimizer and associate that question with an article that you've already built. And the Search Optimizer is super easy to use. It allows you to kind of check things off or cross off phrases that I mean. But really, it allows you to provide answers to customers just after it's been asked one time. So I think a lot of times today, people are hearing trends from their agents that, I heard this question 5 times today, or people are looking for answers to this. Instead of kind of having to wait for all of that feedback and bring it all together and update your page, all you need to see is that a customer's asked this one time, maybe 2 times, and then you're really able to get that article out there quickly so that other customers or employees are able to get an answer to that question the next time it's asked. Great. So then just from a few perspectives that I've had in terms of seeing customers go through this, I think it's been really cool to see there's been a lot of questions that companies didn't realize their employees or customers had, and they were quickly able to better understand those challenges and concerns and add content accordingly. So we've seen people come through with this template. They have, 50 questions they think are asked most frequently. And then on day one, there's a few questions that people are asking over and over again. And it's really easy for them to go in and add that content, questions that they had no idea their customers had. Additionally, been able to see those customers improve their answers and their policies according to what they're seeing in the console. So we had one customer that launched and originally received some negative feedback on a number of articles about various policies. And the Voices dashboard made it easier for them to understand which answers customers were not happy with based on the number of negative feedback and therefore the red tiles that were coming through. And they were able to update those answers, and in some cases, their negative feedback 1%. So overall, we've heard a lot of positive feedback from customers on the widget. Both customers and employees have really good things to say. And I also hear a lot that they love it because it's really helping to decrease their workload by being self-service and increasing deflection, and they're not getting those same repetitive questions coming into them all the time.
Yeah, Courtney, let me just reinforce that because I had a little bit of breakup, and it could have been on my end of hearing you, but what you were mentioning is just that those insights are really valuable to both the company, well, to the customer, first of all, because they're getting an immediate answer that's consistent, to the company because now they're providing a better customer experience, and they might be reducing the burden on their contact center, and to the agent because now the agent's not having to answer those repetitive questions. So it's kind of a really great network effect of this rapid response, a web widget, because it quickly allows you to help a number of stakeholders across the organization and your customers themselves by providing this more consistent response. And once again, you can put this wherever you want. So it's not something that requires you to only put it in one place on your site, or B, requires a lot of development work for you to go build out.
Thanks for summarizing, Ryan. That was perfect.
Yeah, that's great. And so, I appreciate the insights you've shared, Courtney, and it's great to hear that, the work you've been doing with customers, they're seeing really good dividends. I think the other thing that's exciting is that, we built this to really be, as much of a self-service model for our customers as well, so that, they're kind of onboarding and supporting it and standing it up and managing it on their own. Unlike I think what a lot of people think about when they think about AI, is that, requires, a highly technical team, or it might require a conversational designer, or it might require a data scientist. This is not in any way meant to be that. It's really meant to be, you get the power of NLP, you get the power of this voices dashboard and intent-driven insights, but it's meant for the customer, the customer of ours, the brand, to implement on their own and really manage on their own.
Definitely. That was definitely our goal and our idea to get this up and running as quickly as possible.
Well, that's great. Well, Courtney, I certainly appreciate you walking everybody through that and all the insights around it. And it's great to see that, as I mentioned in the beginning of your, you talking about this, the world of support centers and FAQ pages is nothing new, but really the power of this is that it's highly scalable. You can put it wherever you want. It includes consistent and easily updatable content, and it's going to really point out to you what's the next thing you should go address. So really, what are your customers or your employees struggling to find? That'll pop up in a red tile, and then you can go immediately address that either through updating content or through some other business process or way of addressing it. So this kind of becomes your frontline view into what's happening with your customers and employees, and tells you where you should go spend your time next.
Definitely.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks for sharing that. And I think what we want to then talk about though is, so digital engagement is not just about self-service, but really that there's a broader strategy you can start to build. And for some of you, you may be through step 1, 2, or 3 of this. And for others of you, you may say, hey, we're still very phone centric. And, we've traditionally leveraged a contact center, a call center with, some email support, and then maybe we've dabbled in digital channels. But really what we want to help you work on, all of you out there that are here on the webinar, is really building out your digital engagement strategy. So, step 1 that we've talked about today on the left here is around digital self-service. So once again, this is really about a fast path to resolution for your customers and your employees, about saving money because you're answering kind of lower value, higher frequency questions with a simple AI-driven self-service widget. But at the same time, you're gaining new insights. So you're starting to better understand, well, where are new questions coming in and what are people asking us? But after you do that, now all of a sudden those insights and the fact that you've now stood up this knowledge base and you have this content and you're starting to enable these channels will allow you to expand your digital channels. So the second thing you can do is start to look at, well, maybe I should start to enable chat in a more robust way. Or maybe I want to start enabling messaging channels like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. Or maybe I want to look at SMS text. But really what this can start to do is be your foundation towards enabling more digital channels, but doing it through the same rigorous approach of capturing insights along the way. So you can start to test some of these channels and see, oh, are we starting to get good traction? Are the engagements giving the outcomes we desire? are our customers starting to adopt these channels in ways that help our business be more productive, efficient, and effective. And we have customers that are already doing that. So some of the customers that we have implemented this FAQ widget, and now they said, okay, now we want to start looking at chat or escalation paths to other channels, like maybe one that already exists in email. But there's ways after you implement this widget to start to expand your digital channels and really amplify them as a better way to engage. And one of the nice things about doing that is your digital channels give you a lot more flexibility in regards to concurrent sessions, in regards to not having to have, you don't have to worry about background noise. So going back to my earlier disclaimer around my interns, if I'm chatting with someone over a web chat or messaging or SMS text, a contact center agent's kids can be screaming in the background and no one's the wiser. So it gives a lot of flexibility around the way people work and how they work, and also that the fact that it's cloud-based, they can be working from anywhere. So once you've started to go down this road of enabling digital self-service, you can start to look at expanding those channels. You can start to have this capability empower your employees. So you can have AI that faces your employees and helps them be more productive and efficient. It could be in a chat session or in a messaging session, or it could be through a smart advisor that gives them better answers to their questions. But you can start to stand up bigger and richer and better tools that help your employees now who are working from home or working in a new way. And then you can optimize those digital channels. So once you've said, hey, we've tried messaging, we've tried chat, we've improved the way we do maybe SMS text, or maybe even improved our support center or our widget. Now you can say, well, how do we want to start prioritizing where people engage and in what ways we engage them? And start to get a much better view, a much more unified view of how your customers are engaging, what your employees are doing to service those customers, and how you can make it better. And then the final thing we recommend is really around integrating and automating. So once you know, hey, here are 5, 10, 15 workflows that are really the most valuable for us. And so if you're a bank, it might be related to balance transfers or loans or information about repayment. Those might be things that you're getting a lot of volume on, and doing an integration with a backend system or building a more conversational bot experience might be worth the investment. And then you can go spend time on that and integrate it with those systems and build more automation around it. Or if you're in the travel and hospitality space, it might be about, as we're reopening locations, how do we help people understand what's available and what's opening and when, and connecting that with a backend system that manages all that information. But you shouldn't do that as step one. I think too often people get caught up in the shiny things of, hey, I want to build a conversational bot. It's great. I think that's what my customers need, but they're not totally clear on the use case and is there really traction there, and there's clarity around the ROI. So by taking this 5-step approach, you're learning along the way, enabling new channels, learning from your customers, learning from your employees, and then you can really help to justify that bigger investment that requires more integration or maybe more automation. So we'll be doing additional webinars across these 5 different areas to help you start to build out your strategy, but it's certainly something we've worked with on many companies. We also every year do a Forrester maturity model that aligns up with this as well. We'd be happy to share that information. But this is one way that you can start to think about your kind of opportunity to reset now. As things have changed, your employees are engaging your employees are working in new ways, your customers are engaging in new ways, and we want to help you in that journey. So we've covered a lot today, and hopefully this was all helpful for all of you out there that are looking at your journey of digital transformation and engaging your customers and employees in new ways. We really recommend the first step in that journey is start simple, start easy, see a big return on just enabling digital self-service. So we've built out this rapid response FAQ widget to help all of you. And once again, it's kind of the new and improved world of FAQs, where it's not just about posting a bunch of answers to questions, but doing that through AI-driven insights. And that brings us to point number 2, which is as this search is powered by NLP, you're gonna start to much better understand your customers' needs and your employees' needs to service them better, to give them better outcomes and give them the information they need to get back to what they wanna be doing. And then finally, it's all about this continued optimization. So don't set it and forget it, but rather use this as a way to prioritize, organize, and really get your teams moving forward faster. I think one big challenge I see in our company and with customers and companies I talk with is that we're all feeling like there's so many competing priorities. There's so many things we need to be doing every day, and it all feels like a whirlwind. This can be a really nice way to use data to drive your decisions going forward. What should we focus on next and why? So I think taking this 3-step approach in the short term of enable digital self-service powered by NLP to optimize how and where you engage with your customers and employees can be a nice way to help really give clarity and structure to your teams and what they should go work on next. So I want to thank you for the time and thank you for joining. We're going to spend some time answering a few questions that may have come in. And then also want to mention that we'll be answering other questions that you may have submitted if we don't cover them now via email, so don't hesitate to send us follow-on questions if we didn't answer them today, or as you're thinking about this and reviewing it with your internal teams. The other thing I want to quickly touch on before I jump to questions is we also have an event coming up, a virtual event on May 12th called CX Next, where we'll be digging into many of these topics in more detail. So enabling remote work, redefining what engagement looks like, talking about the world of digital engagement. So we'll have a number of tracks that'll focus on both the world of digital engagement and the world of remote support. And we'll really be talking to a lot of industry experts and companies that have really worked on this digital transformation and implemented new capabilities. So I invite you to join this. Registration is free, but we're really excited about having folks join, attend, and learn as an opportunity to really change the way they think about how they engage with their customers and employees. But I'll take a moment to answer some questions to see what's out there. And LaCrystal, I don't know if there's anything that you want to specifically highlight as questions that have come in.
Hey, Ryan. Yep, I got a few questions that came in. How would you compare your text analytics to Qualtrics, CX, and Variant Cloud?
So good question. So there are a number of ways. So there's lots of CX platforms. It's a great question around how would you look at this as compared to other like customer journey mapping, customer friction point, CX analytics platforms. So the nice thing is that there's kind of two parts of Bold 360. So one is what is in the platform itself, which is primarily focused on those direct customer interaction points or direct employee interaction points. So what's happening in real time as people are asking questions or phrasing things, and then how are we servicing those? Are they getting the correct answer? So it's basically the linkage between your customer, employee, and your content. And we have dashboards that make that very easy to take action on. But we also have APIs. So all of this data can be pushed into third-party systems that can then marry up with other customer data information. So this is not a closed environment. We've built the dashboards and tools to help you be most effective in implementing and managing Bold. But this is not something that it only lives within our product. All of that kind of, for lack of a better term, interaction or conversational data can be pulled into another more robust CX tool that you may be using for things like, once again, broader customer service, NPS, customer journey mapping data. So those would certainly be complementary to what's in here. We're specifically focused on those digital channels of engagement that we're driving and supporting.
Thanks, Ryan. Another question. How easy is it to add the widget to internal systems like Salesforce to guide employees through processes? And is it possible to add them to internal systems?
Yeah, great question. And one quick caveat I want to make as well for those that are still on is, this can be implemented in a matter of hours. I mean, we talked about 24 hours, but that's typically from like, hey, we're starting to, it's all live. The actual work is only a few hours of work. We can certainly, so once again, anything that's web-based or HTML-based, you can just stick this on the site. It's a snippet of code. If you're looking to put it on, let's say, a tool like Salesforce, there's a number of different ways you can do that. Some can be simple, you have an iframe page or a page within Salesforce that you're putting it on, and it becomes a pop-up within that part of Salesforce. We also have deeper integrations with tools like Salesforce, where this can be a module inside of a web workspace or a workspace in Salesforce. So there's a variety of ways we can take this capability and put it within existing tools. Some are a light lift, where you're kind of, almost looking at it as you're building a simple module that has a pop-up within it. Others are more complex and deeper integrated based on how you want to leverage the technology. But absolutely, many of our long-term customers and newer clients are leveraging this widget, are putting it into existing portals, sites, and tools like CRMs that they leverage every day with their agents and internal teams.
Thank you, Ryan. About like how much does something like this cost to implement?
Yes, so the cost really is just around the licensing cost. And there's really little cost beyond that in the sense of, you'll need some staffing on your team. As Courtney mentioned, you'll need some folks that are focused on content. You'll need someone that can implement this from a web perspective. And then you'll need some folks, it could be your existing agents or managers or some contact center managers, to then monitor and update the content over time. But from a people perspective, it could be as few as 2 people to implement this technology on your site. And then there's just the licensing cost. We're licensing it for 6 months to start to address the kind of current challenges we're seeing now through the second half of this year as we're dealing with COVID-19. And that's the only cost from our end. So there's no requirement of professional services or anything else to stand it up.
Thank you, Ryan. Can this be done in self-service, or do they need training of some sort?
Yeah, great question. So this, they're primarily can be done in self-service. The only real step you need LogMeIn involved with is you'll have to work with our sales team to set up your account. So there is a process of working with a LogMeIn salesperson to, go through the purchase process and buy the license. And then we will also support you from putting your initial knowledge base. So we have a template of, here are the top 50 questions we typically see in your industry. You will submit that to us via our support center, and then we will put that into your knowledge base and stand it up for you. But outside of that, those 2 touch points, the rest is really there for your team to manage and self-set up. We have in our support center a tutorial that, once again, really only takes a few hours to go through, and maybe if an hour. And Courtney's done that with a number of customers, so I'd be happy if she wanted to add some additional commentary. But really, our goal here is to enable you out there to be able to stand this up, manage it, and optimize it over time, leveraging the resources we have inside our support center. With that being said, we do have an amazing customer success team and other resources that certainly, as you want to do more things like more digital channels, maybe go into something like a conversational bot. If you're looking for higher level capabilities, those are also available as part of Bold 360, and that you can leverage our teams to do that. But for just this FAQ widget, it's definitely designed for all of you out there to be able to stand up and manage on your own.
Yeah, Ryan, I think
That's
you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. The only thing I would add is we have a lot of great training videos that you all can use on your own without needing to actually schedule time. Something that you can watch on your own time and get all of that information. Additionally, the team is here to help. So if there are questions or challenges that come up through that training, we'll walk you through how you can submit a support ticket, and the team will obviously be willing to help you on that front, but you should be able to manage it all on your own side.
Thanks. Is there a limit to the usage of this within the 6 months? So if we got it and we like it and we love it and we want to keep it going on longer, what's the next step?
Yep. So there's unlimited usage in the sense of you can have 1 million, 10 million, 100 million customers engage with this thing every day. So there's no limit in how much you can use it. The only limitation is the 6-month license. And then at the end of the 6 months, you can choose to renew it for a year, or you can choose to maybe pick a different Bold 360 offering that more aligns with your ongoing needs. But this offering is really tailored around this FAQ widget. Once again, very simplified, really easy to use, has all that kind of AI power of the overall Bold 360. If you were to go to our website, you'd see we do very complex implementations for folks like Vodafone and Royal Bank of Scotland and Dyson. So we have kind of world-class brands that leverage us for their digital engagement strategy. But this is a very simplified version of it to help all of you out there very rapidly deploy something. So you may say at the end of 6 months, hey, this is great, we love it, we want to continue using it, fantastic. Or you may say, hey, we really see digital as a cornerstone to our future customer and employee engagement strategy, and we want to leverage more capabilities, and then we can, our teams can work with you then on what's the right solution within Bold 360.
What can we expect in terms of security? I know that's been a hot topic lately.
Yeah, excellent question. So that is a big priority for LogMeIn. We have various ISO certifications, PCI compliance, levels of encryption, multi-factor or two-factor authentication. So there's a variety of things we do around security to help, one, make sure that your customer data is secure and your employees' data is also secure, and also doing things like how we manage the data that's going through the conversation with things like data masking and only housing certain information within Bold 360. We're also GDPR compliant. So we take security very seriously. And once again, we have customers using our product in applications that require extra level of data security, for example, in PCI, where you might be transacting using a chat window. So data security is very important to us, and we have a variety of security information we could also provide around our architecture and how we manage data, et cetera. But we work with large financial institutions who have a lot of rules and regulations around data management, and so it's something that we take very seriously here at LogMeIn.
Thanks. Where do we go if we want to learn more about the web widget?
Yep, so you can go to our homepage, bold360.com, and the top panel of that highlights this web widget. You can click on that and it gives you a video that you can watch, some more information about what's included in the web widget. So feel free to check out our homepage to find out more. And you can also email us as well if you have questions or looking to spend more time with our teams.
Great. Any last thoughts, Ryan and Courtney? That's all the questions that I have.
No, I want to thank everybody for coming. And once again, one last plug for, we have our upcoming event, May 12th, CX Next. Many of the topics we discussed today around redefining engagement, digital transformation will all be covered at this event. So I really invite everybody to attend. You can go to cxnext.com to learn more. It's free to register. So please feel free to join us there. We're really excited about helping all of you in this continued evolution of the way we engage and the way we deliver our experiences. And I think I want to thank Courtney for joining, and I want to thank all of you for joining and spending the time with us today.
Ryan, you almost took my thunder, but thank you again, Ryan and Courtney, for a great presentation. And thank you, everyone, for joining us, taking time out of your day to join us. And there will be an extra survey that will pop up when you go to close out of GoToWebinar. We would love to hear your feedback, so please take a moment to complete it once you leave the webinar. You will also have the chance to request more information on Bold 360 and make suggestions for new webinar topics, something to keep you excited during this difficult time. If we didn't get to answer your questions live today, we will be following up with everyone who didn't get to. If you think of any questions once you leave today, please send them our way. The email address is bold360@logmein.com. Any questions you have, we will get an answer for you. Lastly, we will be sending a follow-up email with the links to the recording from today's session, and I will also include the slides. So with that, have a great day, and we hope to see you at our virtual event, CX Next, on May 12th. Thanks, everyone.